Her price went up. In the heart of Lagos, where the yellow lights of bars bleed into the darkness of Obalende streets, and the smell of suya smoke mixes with cheap perfume and diesel fumes, there lived a woman named Amara. She was not a girl anymore, 32 years old, with a face that had seen too many dawns through strangers' windows and eyes that had learned to smile without meaning it. She worked the nights, standing under the flickering street lamp near Mama Caro's bar, where the music was loud enough to drown out thoughts, and the beer was cold enough to numb regrets. Amara was beautiful. This much was true. Her skin was the color of bitter cola, smooth and dark, and when she walked, men's heads turned like sunflowers, following light. But beauty, in her profession, was currency that depreciated with every passing season, and she knew this better than anyone. She lived in a small room in Ahegunle with her younger sister, Chioma, who was in her final year at the Polytechnic, studying accounting. Everything Amara did every night she stood on that corner. Every man whose bed she entered was for Chioma, so that her sister would never have to stand under a street lamp, counting money with hands that trembled from more than just the cold. "Sister me, when will you stop this work?" Chioma would ask sometimes, her voice soft with worry, sitting on their shared mattress as Amara prepared for another night. "When you finish school and get your good job, my dear, then I will rest," Amara would reply, painting her lips red in their cracked mirror. "Until then, somebody must pay these bills, Abi." But Amara had grown tired of the men who bargained her price down like she was dried fish in the market, tired of the ones who hurt her and the ones who pitied her, because she couldn't decide which was worse. And most of all, she was tired of being invisible, just another body in the shadows, forgotten before the night was even over. Every evening, as she prepared for work, she would stare at her reflection and whisper the same prayer: "Make them see me. Make them pay what I'm worth." She said it so many times, it became a rhythm, a heartbeat, a song her soul sang without permission. Then one Tuesday night, she would always remember it was a Tuesday, because that was the night business was slowest. Something changed. A man approached her, a big man in a white agbada, with gold rings on every finger and the kind of belly that spoke of long afternoons and longer bank accounts. She quoted her usual price, 100,000 naira for the night. He looked at her strangely, his eyes glazing over like he was seeing something she couldn't, and then he nodded slowly. 1 million, he said, his voice distant. "I will pay you 1 million. Amara blinked, thinking she had heard wrong. "Oga, I say 100,000. I know what you're worth," he replied, his voice thick and dreamlike. 1 million. And he paid it. Every naira, in crisp notes that still smelled of the bank. She thought it was madness. She thought it was luck. She thought it was finally her time. The next night, it happened again. And the night after that, every man who approached her heard her price and multiplied it by 10 in their minds, unable to resist, compelled by something beyond reason. They saw her and could not look away, wanted her like a man dying of thirst wants water, and they paid everything they had. Within 2 weeks, Amara had more money than she'd earned in 2 years. She moved Chioma to a better flat in Surulere. She bought herself clothes that weren't from Balagoon Market, shoes that didn't pinch her feet, and perfume that didn't come from a hawker's tray. She felt, for the first time in her life, like she mattered, like she was worth something. "Sister, this money, where is it coming from?" Chioma asked one evening, counting the bundles of naira notes spread across their new bed. "God has finally answered our prayers, my dear," Amara replied. But even as she said it, something cold touched her spine, because deep down, deeper than she wanted to admit, she knew this wasn't God's work. The first body was found on a Monday morning, floating in the lagoon near 3rd Mainland Bridge. It was the man in the white agbada, the first one who had paid her 1 million. His face was frozen in an expression of pure terror, and the doctor said his heart had simply stopped, though he was only 45 and healthy as an ox. Amara felt the news like a slap, but she pushed it away. Lagos was a dangerous place. People died every day. It was not connected to her. It couldn't be. But then the second body appeared, then the third, then the fourth. All men who had been with her, all dead within days of their encounter, all with the same look of frozen fear on their faces and the same mysterious heart failure. The streets began to whisper. Mama Caro's bar grew quieter. Other women who worked the night started crossing the street when they saw Amara coming. "They say you don kill person," one of them hissed at her. "They say, nah jazz you use. They say, your thing don turn poison." Amara couldn't sleep anymore. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw their faces, not just the dead men, but all of them, everyone who had paid her inflated price, their eyes glazed and distant, like they were being controlled by strings she couldn't see. She remembered her prayer, repeated night after night under that broken mirror. Make them see me. Make them pay what I'm worth. And someone had listened. Something had listened. She went to see a babalawo in Mushin, an old man who read cowries and spoke to spirits that dwelled between the living world and the other place. She told him everything, her voice breaking, her hands shaking so hard she could barely hold the cup of water he offered her. The old man was quiet for a long time, casting his divination shells, reading patterns in their fall. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with sorrow. "My daughter, you made a prayer, but you did not specify who should answer it, and so the wrong spirit came. An age, a spirit of wealth and hunger, heard your cry and made you an agreement you did not know you were making. Every man who pays your elevated price surrenders his life force to feed the spirit, and the spirit, in turn, feeds you their wealth. Your body has become the doorway, and their bodies have become the payment." Amara felt her stomach turn to stone. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't mean. Intention does not stop consequence, my child. The spirit will continue to feed until it is satisfied, or until you yourself become the feast. These transactions, they cannot be broken easily. The debt must be paid." "How?" Amara begged. "Please, tell me how to stop this." The babalawo's eyes were ancient and sad. "You must return everything the spirit gave you, every naira, every gift. And you must offer yourself, not your body, but your pride, your vanity, the part of you that wanted to be seen as more than you were. You must become invisible again by choice, not by circumstance. Only then will the spirit release its claim." The next week was the hardest of Amara's life. She returned the flat, moved Chioma back to their old room in Ajegunle, explaining through tears that the money was cursed, that it would destroy them both if they kept it. She sold everything she'd bought, every piece of clothing, every pair of shoes, every bottle of perfume, and she gave the money away to beggars on the street, to the old women who sold oranges at the bus stop, to the children who had nothing. Chioma watched her sister give away their dream life and asked only one question: "Are you going to be okay?" And Amara, for the first time in months, smiled a real smile. "I will be, my dear. I will be." On the last night, Amara returned to the street lamp near Mama Caro's bar. She stood there not to work, but to wait. And as the moon rose full and red over Lagos, she felt it, the presence that had been following her, the weight that had pressed against her soul for weeks. The air grew thick, and she smelled something ancient, like earth and old blood and forgotten prayers. The spirit materialized not as a form, but as a feeling, a hunger that had eyes. "I return everything," Amara said aloud, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. "I return the wealth, the pride, the false worth you gave me. I am what I am, no more, no less. I am a woman trying to survive, and that is enough. I don't need to be seen by the world. I only need to see myself." The pressure built and built until she thought her chest would collapse. And then, like a rope snapping, it released. The air cleared, the weight lifted, and Amara fell to her knees on that dirty Lagos street and wept not from sadness, but from relief, from freedom, from the simple mercy of still being alive. No more men died after that night. Amara continued her work because she had to, because Chioma still needed to finish school, but she did it differently now. She worked with clear eyes and a clear conscience, charging fair prices, refusing any money that felt heavy with unseen debt. And when men tried to pay her more than she asked, she would refuse, no matter how much she needed it. "Why you dey reject money?" they would ask, confused. And she would reply, simply, "Because some prices are too high to pay." 2 years later, Chioma graduated with honors and found a good job in a bank. On her first day, she gave her sister an envelope containing enough money to stop working the streets forever. "Sister me, your price has finally gone up," Chioma said, smiling through tears. "Not because of jazz or spirits, but because of love." And Amara, holding that envelope, felt richer than she ever had standing under that street lamp, counting cursed money with blood-stained hands. The elders say, when you ask the darkness for light, check whose torch you're carrying. Not every answer to prayer comes from above. Some rise from below, and their gifts always have teeth. A blessing that costs another person's breath is not a blessing at all, but a debt written in red ink that even the grave cannot erase. With that, see.